So I'm gonna, I guess, attempt to get this Bantam T35 to fire on the house section of it. This has got a Leroy in it, gas powered, 4-cylinder. It's a D176. I did turn the engine over by hand when I first looked at the machine. All I've done so far is I've pulled the plugs and I pulled this little plug out of here for the oil line. There's no oil pressure gauge or anything on this, but I want to crank it, get it spinning over a little bit, make sure there's no, I did spray some oil in the cylinders, but I want to make sure there's not anything left over from when somebody else did it, because it says engine turned over and put oil in cylinders. So I mean, just because I was able to turn it over by hand, there shouldn't be anything in the cylinders, but we'll give it a go. I'm going to try with the starter. And then we'll work on, if we want to see oil come out of this line here, there's no oil pressure gauge. At least we know that the oil pump's pumping if it's getting up into the filter. And if that goes well, we'll work on getting spark. And then if we get spark, try to run it on a little bit of ether, and then we'll work on the carburetor. See if we can get this to run, and then we'll go from there. So we'll have to do the same thing for the truck engine. But let me get a remote starter switch hooked up here and the battery, and we'll give it a crank and see what happens. Alright, well, I forgot to hit record, but I pulled the carburetor off because there's some mud wasps in it, and I got the battery hooked up and a starter button. I did hit it, it cranked. We were shooting oil out of here and I thought I was filming, so I just put that little plug back in, and I'll crank it again here. So, starter's good, battery's a little weak, but we know it cranks. I didn't notice. I don't think we're pumping any fuel out of the tank yet. I don't know if there's anything in it actually. So that's a good sign. So let's work on getting some spark. I'm not familiar with this. Alright, we got a little oil cup. So I did notice this is loose. Maybe this is the wrong cap for this, but there is a spot in the center here where you put the coil wire. Oh, figure it out. Alright, so digging into the carburetor, and this thing was packed solid full of mud daubers, but the inside of this thing is yucky. So, work on trying to get some of this crud out of here, clean it up. This never would have ran on this. So then we'll, I don't know, spray a little ether and stuff in it and see if it'll fire off. I was able to get a little bit of it to backfire through the carb or through the intake a little bit on starting fluid. So we're moving along. All right. So this is where I got to this afternoon. We got spark. What I did was I took this coil wire, put it to the center of the distributor cap. Originally it was hooked up to here. So I was kind of thinking that before this had a coil wire going from here to the cap. I mean, I'm just guessing here. I don't know. So it was backfiring out the intake. I ended up taking the carburetor apart. I got a picture of the inside of that. There was no air cleaner on this, so the bugs got in it. I did have it, so it was backfiring out of the carburetor. So then I thought, well, maybe the mag's 180 out. So I took it off, turned it 180. Bolted it back on, and I was able to get it to fire. I rigged up a temporary fuel tank. Excuse me. Temporary fuel tank. I didn't put much fuel in it, but it burned all that out. It's probably going to need a carb kit. I need a throttle cable. Probably going to need a choke cable. Just letting the battery charge up, and I'm gonna try it again, see if I can get the carb tuned a little bit. Might have to mess with the timing a little bit on the mag yet. I don't even know if that's the original one to this machine. Alright, so a couple of things I have to fix. This lever, or brake pedal's bent, so it rubs the side of the floor and it gets stuck. So I gotta push that back over. And the hoist and drag clutches are stuck. So I think I'm gonna back the adjuster off here so that there's a gap between the shoe and the drum, and that'll move this lever out of the way and give me a little less resistance on getting this to slide. So I gotta see what kind of wrenches I'm gonna need for this. Hopefully they're not stuck too bad, but I did get this choke cable freed up. I think I'm going to start with rebuilding the carb, see if I can get this to run a little better. So I did tear the gasket a little bit in there. And then probably have to look at the timing a little bit better. And oh, that mag's pretty noisy. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that. I don't even know if that's the correct one for the machine, but it was running, so we'll make it usable. Give me time. So that didn't take much at all. 7/8 wrench, back the lock nut off, back the adjuster off. That goes now. This is freed up. You can see the shoe's loose now. Now we just gotta do the other side, and it should be safe to engage the clutch. And get the engine running a little bit better and put the hoe on and we could probably dig with it. Alright, so that was pretty easy. I think what was happening is this cone wasn't really stuck. What it was these shoes expanded out to the drum because of rust. So as soon as I backed the adjustment off, they slid pretty freely. So I also backed off these bolts that hold the clearance when the shoe's retracted to the drum. There's a spec for that. I think on my Inslee it's like 1/32 of an inch, but I'm not sure what Bantam uses. Probably the same thing. So then I'm gonna try to fire it up again, engage the master clutch, and see if it'll run well enough to turn everything over. Which it probably won't, but I'll try it anyway. engine running well, we can mount the hoe and dig. So not too bad for a couple hours worth of work. Last Saturday I did carry the hoe over and I drove the pins in. I didn't hook any of the cables up. Alright, so I screwed up reeving the hoist. Like I said, you can hear that engine doesn't want to run right, and I swear it's the magneto. So maybe I'll mess with that a little bit, I don't know. But now I guess I can try to see if it'll move. Alright, so I think I got it running halfway decent. I took the mag apart. It looked like the rotor was off a tooth, and I played around with the plug wires some more. I pulled all the plugs, brought it up to top dead center on number 1, looked at where the rotor was pointing, and I fiddled with it. And it runs halfway decent right now. I was able to dig a little bit. I switched this cable back so it's correct. I had to adjust the hoist clutch and brake. So I need to make the tool for adjusting the brake. It's like a little round piece of pipe with 2 nubs on it that engage that. So I'm almost out of gas, but I'll see if I can show you guys it digging a little bit and how it runs.